On today's show, I get to have a talk with Louisa Barbosa from Louisa and the Planets. Coming up. In today's episode, you're going to feel empowered, unstoppable, and gain the tools to accomplish anything you can dream of, using real examples from some of the most successful entrepreneurs in the world. That's all happening today on the I Can Show. Hey everyone, welcome to the I Can Show podcast, where we explore the realm of possibilities and show how you can succeed in your passion. Today we're on episode 2 of our new season 2 of our show, the I Can Show podcast, and today we're talking with Louisa Barbosa. Louisa is a very successful and accomplished musician. She has now just released her single last year called Nice Kid, and she's working towards her new album. She performs nonstop, and she has her own successful band, Louisa And The Planets. And in a few moments, we're going to get a chance to talk to her and get to know more about her journey and her behind-the-scenes story. All right, so right now, can you please give it up for our guest for today, Louisa Barbosa. Louisa, thank you so much for joining today.
Thank you for having me.
For sure. So, Louisa, can you give us a bit about your background, your journey, and how you got started, please?
All right, so music has been the center of my existence for probably as long as I can remember. Like, it's always just really affected me, and I've always wanted to be around it. So I started getting into performing when I was around 7. And after that, started, doing local competitions. I wrote my first song when I was 10. And a year before that, I had gotten involved with my music school. And I was just really focusing on surrounding myself with it. So the director of my music school actually helped me put together my band, Louisa And The Planets. And we've been doing shows all over the GTA. I've also been doing my own solo shows. We shot a video for a song of mine, and we just finished recording for the band's EP. So a lot of exciting stuff going on, and I'm excited to see where the future takes me.
That's awesome. So, Louisa, could you tell us about how did your band, Louisa and the Planets, come together?
Yeah, so as mentioned previously, that was the work of the director of my music school. I guess he saw something in me, and he was really helpful in getting me to advance my career, and the band was part of that. So he brought in a bassist and a drummer, and they were both great, and we clicked, and we started getting gigs around the GTA wherever we could play, and it was really fun, and it still is.
Nice. Now, I believe so. You recently released a single called Nice Kid. Is that correct?
Yeah. So
So, I'm just curious. So, what was the process of putting together that single?
so when you talk about the process, do you want to know like about the writing process or just the video process?
I want to know about the writing process. So, how did you create the song? What was the inspiration? All that stuff.
Okay, so creating the song, I don't know what my mind would have become if I hadn't written that song because I just needed to get it out of me. Like I'm a very gentle person, I guess. Like a lot of people view me as nice and trustworthy, and that's great. Like I'm super grateful for that, but it also makes it really easy for you to get taken advantage of because with gentler people, it's harder for you to speak up when you feel people are treating you unfairly. So you kind of just stick to the background, don't raise your voice, and that can be challenging. So that's kind of what the song comes from. And yeah.
So tell me about the origin of Nice Kid. Like, what was the original concept, the original idea, and how did that sort of develop into its own song?
So the first thing that popped into my mind was, like most songs, the first verse. And in that verse, I'm kind of like lamenting about all of the things I wish I'd done, people I wish I knew, but I didn't like get to experience those opportunities because I was afraid of getting in the way of somebody else, right? Because it's like nice kid, right? That's the concept. And I just kind of started elaborating on that and realizing like I've been dealing with this my whole life and I've never said anything about it. So here's the time to say it.
Right. So could you also please sort of describe about the story that you're trying to tell within the song. You've already given us an example of, being the nice kid and you don't want to get in other people's way and you need to really step up. But could you sort of walk me through the story that you're telling with this story? The story that you're trying to tell with the song, I mean.
The story, I'm just trying to tell my own truth, because I've kept it inside a long time, and I'm so used to like being like, there's a line in the song where I'm talking about being a human safety net for people, because like I would always be going out of my way to help others, and then they would just like, I don't know, kind of lean on me when it was convenient and then leave. So yeah, that's just the story I'm trying to tell. Like, that is what happened. And if anybody else is affected by it, let them know that they are so much better than that, that they don't need to worry about getting in other people's way for the sake of what they want. And that it's okay to think of yourself too. Like, yes, continue to be the wonderful person you are, but not at the expense of what you want to do with your life, right? Because you can only care so much about other people before you start hurting yourself too in that process. So just letting people know that it's like, this is what my reality was, dealing with that, and that you can do so much better than that.
Yeah, no, and you're 100% right. A lot of people tend to forget that, at the end of the day, you also need to make sure that you're happy. And that's not a selfish thing to want yourself to be
Exactly.
happy before you try and make everyone else feel happy. You know what I
Of
mean?
course not. And I actually struggled with that too. Like, I was so worried about coming off as selfish or conceited when I finally stand up to those people. But then you realize that they want you to feel that way when you stand up, because they don't want to stop being able to reap your benefits, I guess.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, just as much as you care about everyone else's happiness, everyone also cares about your happiness too. Everyone wants to see you be happy as well.
Yeah. At least the people that should stay in your life will care about your happiness.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's your circle of influence, guys. So, how long ago was it since you released your single again?
That was August last year.
Mm-hmm.
So the process was kind of funny, because at the time I learned that Keith, who was the videographer, wanted to do a video for it. I had not finished the song, so I was really nervous, and it was kind of like a scramble to get that done. And I needed like one set of lyrics to finish it. And then once I finally found that, we were good to go. So yeah, then we started playing with concepts for the video, and Keith had this amazing idea. Keith and Daryl had this idea of doing it in like a sunflower field, and I just thought that was so beautiful, because they're such nice flowers, and I feel like it fit with the vibe of the song. So we did that. I got up at around 4 a.m., which was super hard, but I still had energy. And we got to the location, and we did like a few takes of the song. And it was really important to myself and to Keith that they were all 100% live, because we were debating whether or not we wanted it to be live or pre-recorded. And then he heard me play it, and he was like, yeah, it should be live. So there were a few challenges that came with that as well, right? Like, obviously it was the morning, that's kind of rough on your voice, but at the same time, I really like the rawness of it, because it feels more genuine. Like, every voice crack, every moment that sounds a bit raw is there because I want it to be there. Like, this is my real voice, take it or leave it. So it was a cool process.
Yeah, and that is really, really cool. So, could you also tell me about when you released your single? What was the reaction? What was the feedback that you got from it?
So obviously a lot of people from my school, a lot of my friends were like really behind me, and I was super happy with the support. And yeah, a lot of people have come up to me saying good things. It's my most viewed video right now on my YouTube channel, I think. So I was super happy with the result. I can't complain.
Nice, way to go. So, could you also talk to me about this new upcoming album? Is there anything that you can tell us about it?
So the EP, it's like a more condensed album, I guess. So it was produced by Mike Turner, who is the former guitarist from Our Lady Peace. And I am so, so happy that like we reached out to him and he actually wanted to work on this project. he was fantastic throughout everything. Like, I cannot think of enough good things to say about him. I'm so grateful. He was so accommodating, and he made the songs what they are now. Yeah, I'm super happy with them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, are you also able to sort of let us know anything regarding like what the album's about, any details regarding the songs, or is that kept private?
I can tell you this. They are all personal in their own way. It's kind of the story of like how I think, like every lyric is mine. It's a lot about my thought process, and I want my supporters when they hear it to get to know me a little more, feel like they know me through my music. That's my only goal.
Mm-hmm. That sounds really, really exciting. I'm looking forward. So, Louisa, what I'm also very curious about is, everyone goes through challenges. Everyone has their own, circumstances and things they have to deal with. So, I'm curious from your perspective, what motivates you? What drives you every single day?
I actually did struggle with that for a while. Like, it wasn't super bad, but I would always have the tendency to get in my own head, right? So always just trusting in your abilities, and just like remembering why you do it, right? Like, I do music because I love it. And sometimes it's hard balancing the creative side with the business side, but it's always going to be worth it because it is my work, it's my art, and it's my passion, and I can't not love it, you know? Like, I feel like everything's always going to be worth it, and I'm always going to be motivated just because of my love for music.
Mm-hmm. Nice. So something I also want to touch base on is taking you back to the beginning. I would love to sort of know about, so you went to school, you took lessons, and then of course your band got put together, and then everything that happened after that. But what actually encouraged you to take lessons in the first place? How was that about? And what motivated you to pick up the guitar or start singing? Where did that all really originate from?
Okay, so that was initially not my idea. So I already loved to sing. Like, this was like 8, 9 year old me, like thinking she was a diva and that she already knew everything, which obviously was not the case, right? So my mom had the idea of like, okay, if you want to be a musician, I think you should learn a little more about music, learn to accompany yourself, learn to play an instrument. And at first, I was not on board with the idea because I figured it was just going to slow me down. I wanted it to happen now. But I mean, I was a delusional child. What can you expect? So she found like a free summer program for our lessons. And then if you liked it, then you would stick with it and, pay. And I went in for my first lesson. So I started with both guitar and vocals at the same time when I was 9. And I ended up loving it. And I realized that my mom was right, and there was still so much that I had to learn. So I was really grateful that I was finally like being taught about music. I realized it was something you needed to study. It wasn't just a feeling. It was just like there were just as many hard concepts as there were theoretical concepts, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you say you need to study music, so what do you mean by that?
Well, I think every musician should at least have some concept of theory. I'm not saying mine is the strongest, but like, know how scales work, know how key signatures work, because it's just going to make you a better musician, and it's going to allow you to better channel your inner creativity, right? You need to understand the art as much as you can.
Right. Now, did you also study classical music?
A bit, yeah. I would like play classical pieces for exams and stuff. I've kind of drifted away from that now, but I did, yeah.
Mm-hmm. For sure. So, another thing I'm very curious about, Louisa, is what are your future goals? What are your plans? Do you plan on going to college, or university? I'm very, very curious. Where do you see yourself like 5 or 10 years from now?
I've always kept like my music and my actual school education separate, and I feel like I'll continue to do that. Like, ideally, like in my perfect world, after we release the EP, we start getting more live shows, radio play, maybe even tour. I'm just dreaming now, but like that would be so amazing. And in my ideal future, that is what would happen. But if not, then definitely going into university, I'm really into like biology and healthcare, so I'd probably study something in that area.
Interesting. I'm trying to imagine biology and music.
um, yeah, I've noticed actually that it's kind of common for like musicians to be really into science. Like I have a lot of friends who are really into both science and into science, and then they're also talented musicians. So it's just interesting. Like there's a relationship between those two things for some reason. I don't know why.
Hmm. It just, I'm thinking to myself, like, oh, you could study the human brain at one moment, and then if worse comes to worse, just pick up a guitar and start singing about it. I don't know, something like that.
Maybe. Yeah, I feel like they're more related than everyone thinks.
Yeah, I guess it's about, figuring out how something functions.
Yeah.
Now, Louisa, I have one final question for you, and that is, what we're doing on the show is, of course, I want to, inspire other entrepreneurs to, succeed in their passion, and just I'm imagining, like, let's say there might be, another teenager, perhaps your age, who's listening to this right now, and they want to be an aspiring musician someday. What would be your piece of advice for those young entrepreneurs to really, really succeed in music?
Okay, well, I gave this a lot of thought. And I would say that my main piece of advice, and this doesn't just apply to music, this can be for anything. Like if you want to be an athlete or an actor, you have to believe in yourself first before you can get anybody else to believe in you. And I know that's like really cheesy, but it's true. Like I was my own worst enemy, and I still kind of am, I still like fall back into that. I'm not perfect, but I think as soon as you start believing that you have a chance, then everybody else will start believing that. Nothing is going to happen if you don't make it happen. And sometimes like I would shy away from an opportunity because I thought I wasn't going to be good enough, but then you just end up missing out, and you have to just, I don't know, get out of your own head so that you can move forward. And yeah, that's my advice.
100%, Louisa. Well, again, I want to thank you so much for being a part of this podcast. It's been a huge pleasure talking with you and getting to know more of your journey and, of course, the tips and advice and the value that you want to offer to our listeners. Thank you very, very much once again.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Thank you to everyone who tunes in.
There you have it, everyone. Louisa Barbosa from Louisa And The Planets. I'm going to put the link to her social sites and her website and her music in the description of wherever you're listening to this podcast or watching the podcast. You can go check out those links for yourself. If you got any value out of this, and I hope you did, we're out to really try and inspire as many people as we can. If you got any value out of this, I would love to invite you to our merchandise shop at shop.spreadshirt.ca/ICanShow. We have loads of different t-shirts and sweatshirts with multiple different designs. You can get shirts and sweaters and whatnot with the I Can Show title on it and all sorts of great stuff. If you purchase the merchandise, you're further supporting this podcast so we can grow and really get it into the community. Our goal with the show is, we're always trying to reach out to different entrepreneurs in different fields and whatnot, and really try to inspire them and show that they really can succeed, despite your challenges, despite your circumstances, despite the stuff that you might be dealing with. Anyone can succeed in their passion if you're willing to work hard and keep pushing through it. And we're here to really, really help inspire you. If you have a journey or a story that you like to share as well, if you would love to be a guest on this show, I would also love to invite you to please reach out to us, connect to us at icanshowpodcast@gmail.com. I'm going to put this link down in the description of the podcast, but please reach out to us at icanshowpodcast@gmail.com. Let me know what your journey and all that stuff is, and then we'd love to have you on our show. If you got any value out of this, we would also love to invite you to please leave a review or rate this episode or leave a comment wherever you're listening to this, and help us to please spread out this message, share this with other entrepreneurs that you're connected with so we can really inspire other people. Again, I wanted to thank you guys so very much for listening and tuning in today. I hope you join us next week when we get to talk with the unstoppable Tracy Schmitt and how she grew in her journey and her passion. All right, thank you very much, everyone. Have the most amazing week. ever. Remember, you can do it. Despite your limitations, despite your challenges, you can succeed in your passion. Thanks very much. Have a wonderful day.